So in the last video you saw about major and minor chords and the diagram that I just put up that shows you how to find any chord using just that circle, no music reading or anything like that. So now I'm going to show you about dominant sevenths, minor sevenths, major sevenths, that sort of thing. What's a dominant seventh? Why is it called dominant? In jazz terms it's just 7, C7. C dominant seventh is the correct term. And it's a little bit more, it explains a bit more. The dominant of C major is G. All the notes in the scale have technical names. Tonic, supertonic, mediant, subdominant, dominant, submediant, leading note, octave, tonic again. So the dominant is the 5th one. So in the key of C major, my dominant seventh would be G7. So it's got an extra note here. Now the function of that extra note is that the ear makes that note link with the major component of my chord, which in C was the E. So now, how did I find that seventh? It is the 7th note of the scale. There's the 7th. But in a dominant 7th chord, you have to flatten that 7th. Now, to flatten means to bring down a semitone. It doesn't necessarily turn it into a black note, because you could have B7, where the B major, the 7th note is a black note, and it becomes white. So it's just dropping that 7th note a semitone. So in C, becomes a B flat. And there is your chord of C7. Now, because of the number of notes there, you have more possibilities of playing that chord. So there are 4 possible options there. You can also divide the work. Now this is quite an important thing here, especially in jazz language. My C7 at the moment is that fistful of notes. In the left hand, I could play the root note and the 7th in that hand, leaving the other 2 notes for the right hand. And that's quite a nice way of dividing that up. You could play the root and the 5th in the left hand, and leave the 3rd and the 7th for the right hand. So that's the 7, or dominant 7th. Minor 7 is exactly the same concept, but you start with a minor chord. So C minor, as we've looked from the clock face, you have C, G and E. The E drops a semitone, giving you E flat. And there's your chord, C minor. And the 7th is still the flattened 7th in C. So you end up with this. There's your C minor 7. And you can do that same dividing work between the hands, your root and your 7th there, your minor 3rd and the 5th there. Major 7. This time you use the notes that are in the major scale. So in some ways it's actually the easier chord, the easiest form of the 7 to get. There are your 8 notes in C. You use the 1st, the 3rd, the 5th and the 7th with no alterations at all. So that's C major 7. So that's quite bright and happy. One remaining combination is the minor major 7, and it's not often used in rock and yeah, it appears, but this time you have the minor chord, there's your C minor, but you use the unadjusted 7. Those of you old enough to remember Home and Away in the 90s will know that that is the ending chord. And it always used to end on that chord. It's also the forms the basis of the end chord of the James Bond theme. where that is minor major 7, but they add another flavour on top. Now that is going to be the subject of the next video, is what notes can you add to those 7s to make them sound a little bit thicker.